Well, we are back and we are discussing Alien Earth. The Aliens franchise returns, much like LSG Media has returned, at least on some level, to YouTube. Hello, YouTube. I hope you're doing well. I am joined today by the inimitable Maaja, my wonderful wife, my partner in crime, the person who's going to be discussing this show with me today. And for those of you who are regulars to the program, Scott will be joining us, but not until the third episode because of the way the scheduling shook out. And we sort of decided to cover Alien Earth a little bit late, meaning we watched the first two eps and thought, I think we should do this. So here we are doing it. And I'm excited to discuss Alien. We will be covering every episode, each podcast episode, and or YouTube, if we decide to keep doing this on YouTube, episode will cover one episode of the program. So there you have it. Our introductions are out of the way. And I would like to start by just saying to Maaja, more of a question than a saying. When Alien Earth was coming around the bend, how did you feel about it?
I knew that this show was going to happen. I had not followed it at all. I honestly had no interest whatsoever because I have become pretty jaded when it comes to anything new concerning the franchises that I like the originals of. So I did not have any expectations. Then it came out. I'm like, oh, it's already out. I hadn't been following it at all. And then we just kind of decided to watch it, and I'm still digesting the fact that I genuinely think it's pretty good.
There was plenty to talk about in this episode, and I'm actually glad to hear that. Same goes for me. After seeing Romulus, which had a lot of things that were noteworthy and then a lot of things that were a real problem for me. If you don't believe me, just listen to our coverage on it. I think I did separate individual episodes about my problems with the characters. And I had some concerns that was going to continue over here to Alien Earth on Hulu, of course, responsible for Hulu Racer and things like Prey, which I'm not fond of. And I know people love Prey and I give it shit because, well, I'm just not convinced. So I had very low expectations for Alien Earth, but I have been thinking about the Alien franchise quite a bit. And I must admit, I've been thinking about it quite a bit because of the role-playing game by Free League Press, which I'm interested in. As a disgusting, dirty little role player and who likes board games and stuff, I've been actually reading quite a bit about the expanded universe of Alien. And this show and my reading of that book lined up to where I said, well, let's just cover it. There was very little thought considered when we decided to cover this other than let's just cover something because we want to cover it, which is something we are trying to remember that is our mission statement, to just do things that interest us. Alien interests me. Alien has always interested me, despite the fact that the majority of the franchise, now I've read none of the books, despite the fact that the majority of the franchise is not good. I don't think, which is...
No, it's not.
It's insane to say, but here I am.
It's a very, very interesting world and interesting concepts and the creatures themselves and everything else, the corporations. There's so much to love, but so much of it really just isn't good outside of the first two movies. I mean, 3 is okay, but that's about it. Everything since, I'm like, but I love the original movie enough to where I'm still going to be like, maybe I'll check it out. Even though I've become very disillusioned to new things having much good to offer, but this show really did surprise me in a positive way in a lot of things, because it does get into more than just the same old story of like, ooh, we come across these crazy creatures.
Right. And I think there's a lot I want to get into there. I don't think we're not going to cover the scene by scene or anything, because there's a lot of ideas present that I want to discuss. And sometimes when something we watch presents a lot of different things that you can think about, I like to discuss that stuff. But it's funny that you say, here we are yet again, and you're on record as saying Alien is your favorite movie. We know Alien's your favorite movie. People know that who listen to the audio podcast. And at least I think that's true, correct?
Yes, it
Okay,
is.
just making
Absolutely.
sure.
It has been since I was a teenager, and I think it will always be my favorite movie.
I don't
It's
want to lose.
almost perfect.
I don't want to lose husband points.
You should know my favorite movie.
Of course. So it's in the first two movies are so good that we are still willing to, all these years later, still, despite what has largely been slop from the franchise that we eat out of our yummy little feed bags, despite that, we are still back yet again. And Alien is a tough one because so much of the interest in Alien is that you're fighting for your life against the xenomorphs, and they've done crazy, wacky things to the bodies of these people. Their behavior is strange. They impregnate you. There's this, it's just a, how many times can you run that back is my question. So how many times can you run back, there's an alien loose and we just aren't equipped to deal with it because, well, it's a perfect organism, to quote Ash. How are we going to deal with it? How many times can you tell that story? Now, I, like yourself, I think the world of Alien is interesting and it needs to be explored more. That's one of my interests in the role-playing game, is this idea of like, what is it like? What are the corporations like? I know that that this is something that just has so much meat on the bone, and that's one of the things that made me more apt to want to discuss this show, because it started to delve into ideas outside of the xenomorphs, which I appreciated. What about you, Maaja, when you're thinking of Alien and you're considering Alien, and you listening or you watching, ask yourself, what is it about Alien that interests you? And can that thing continuously interest you? Or are there other things in the franchise that do in fact interest you? Why keep coming back to it, right?
Well, that's kind of the thing, because I'm completely happy with the first two movies. They're perfect. They give me everything that I need or want out of Alien. So that's why everything that's come since, I'm like, I might check it out, but I don't really care because I have my thing. I have everything I want. But this show somehow just snuck underneath there and was like, oh, but here's a little more, and this could interest you. And it does, because I want to learn about these corporations. I like that we explore more about the synthetics and the technology of what's going to happen with humanity, basically. What's our development? What's the next step? And not just the whole like crew on a spaceship and alien loose story, which does happen. And I have to admit that the way the show opens, it does make me more like, if you play me those Nostromo computer noises, I'm just going to be like, ooh, that tickles my brain just the right way. And then I'm going to be more accepting of anything that comes next.
Yeah, I totally hear that. In fact, do you want to hear some of those noises?
Yes.
Here we go.
Yes.
Well, I don't want to play any music. These. Right?
Yep.
I'll let it play one more time. Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I love the sound effects in Alien. They're great. But yeah, for this show to succeed, it's tough. The Alien franchise has always been about the big screen. As I understand, the expanded novels are actually kind of good. At least that's what I've been reading about, that they're kind of, that some of that material is readable.
That's cool. I've never read any of the books.
No.
I have read the Dark Horse comics, Aliens.
And those are pretty awesome.
Yeah, those are amazing.
Yeah. So how do we keep this interesting is a question that this show has to answer. And it has to decide how it wants to do that. And then it has to deliver, because it needs people to sit down and watch the goddamn show. And it needs people to talk favorably about it. And it needs YouTube to go out there and do what YouTube does and tell everyone to watch it, or tell everyone that it stinks. So I think that there is a lot to like here. There are some issues with the show for sure, but there is plenty to like. And I want to get into some of that stuff. You were talking about the corporations. It's funny to hear out of your mouth I'm interested in corporations. So when a show can say, I want you to be interested in these corporations, I think it does, it increases your desire to want to learn more about the world of Alien.
Yeah,
and that matters, because if you don't want to know more about the world of Alien, there's only so many iterations of we're running away from xenomorphs that you can get away with before you're like, I don't really care about Alien anymore. Like you said, I have the first 2 movies. I'm good.
That's the thing, because of the first 2 movies, I'm like, Weyland-Yutani. What's the story of Weyland-Yutani? I want to know more about them. Just the name is cool and the logo is cool, but it's very, very little that we get in the first 2 movies. So that just primes me for the feeling of like, ooh, I get to hear more about the corporations. Which, if it was anything else, if they were not pre-existing, I mean, we do meet a completely new company here, Prodigy.
Yeah.
But that just makes me, the prior knowledge makes me interested.
Right. And it's funny because the Alien universe is one of those universes that is very, it's kind of grimy, and it is a place of challenges and difficulty. And the movies show us how brutal it is and how precarious space travel is. And there's a deep uncleanliness and utilitarian feeling to the ships, and everything feels sort of tough. It's one of my problems with Romulus when you go back and watch that or listen is that I didn't feel as if the cast represented people who would live on a mining colony where people do hard labor all day. The cast didn't feel like those types of people compared to, say, the original cast in Alien, which feels much more like a blue-collar type of people. And I think when you have white-collar actors trying to play blue-collar people, sometimes they fail utterly in that. And it's especially true in something like Alien.
Right, or when they're just simply teenagers who can't possibly be as tough as somebody...
As Dallas.
As Dallas, as Parker.
As Yaphet Kotto.
I know.
Although we have a Yaphet Kotto clone in this.
We do.
Which is pretty remarkable. Yeah. But which brings us to the question, does the introduction of this intrigue you enough to continue? Are you excited to talk about not just this episode, but are you hopeful after seeing 2 episodes? Are you hopeful going into the future with this show?
Yes, I am. And there's a few key reasons why. And one of them is that the characters are actually interesting, and most importantly, they don't piss me off. Right. Outside of Boy Cavalier, but I think we're supposed to be pissed off by him. So
if Boy Cavalier does put shoes on pretty soon, I'm going to pray nightly for his demise. Walking around the office without shoes on, he drives me bananas.
And his outfits,
they're very whimsical.
He's a very whimsical boy.
He's a very whimsical grown man trillionaire. It's very not douchey at all.
No, not at all.
Super endearing.
No, it's not douchey at all to create this crazy technology just so he can have an interesting fucking conversation.
Yes. Now, as is the case with prequels, whatever quills, I hear the term mid-quill now.
Oh my God.
I can't. With this, you always run into issues because we know that they have 3 different types of technologies. They have cyborgs, synths, and hybrids, which is the first thing they want to introduce us to when we start watching the episode. Cybernetically enhanced humans or cyborgs, artificial intelligent beings or synths like Bishop or Ash. And then hybrids are something we have yet to see, which is a synthetic that has a human consciousness downloaded into it. Human consciousness transference is a science fiction concept that really interests me. I know Altered Carbon did this.
Yeah, Ghost in the Shell.
Ghost in the Shell does this, and I really do like this idea. And I will say, as much as I love the xenomorphs and how interesting I think they are, I am going to say I may be one of the rare people watching this show that goes, I kind of don't really care too much about the alien presence at this point. I'm more interested in just this science fiction setting, which is insane to say Because if I said to you, okay, aliens, great, take the aliens out. Boring.
Right.
But I think because the alien thing has been done so much, I am, like yourself, way more interested in exploring what is it like to be a cyborg? What is it like to be a synth? How about a hybrid? That's a crazy idea. I want to know more about that. And I do find myself interested in these ideas. We do know that this takes place in 2120 thereabouts, which I think is 2 years before Alien.
It is 2 years before Alien, but
does that present a problem? Like some of that stuff might present problems for the plot.
The timeline is a little bit questionable because we have to take into account that the ship, the USCSS Maginot, is that how you pronounce it?
You got it.
They have been on this mission for 65 years.
Right.
So they were deployed in 2055, which is, by the way, 30 years from now, which is insane. But for there to be a cyborg who clearly has pretty developed technology when he can just eject a blowtorch out of his hand.
We're talking Morrow.
Morrow, yes.
I think the best character in the show.
He's very interesting. I like
Morrow. Wendy.
Cool.
I like Wendy, but Morrow, I'm way more interested in Morrow.
Yeah, it's. I do wonder about the timeline. There are some things that don't really make sense as for the development of the technology because for Morrow to be like clearly he's been a cyborg already 65 years ago, whereas 2 years from this, like it's 67 years ago, it gets very confusing. But Ash being a robot who, by the way, gets his head knocked off by a fire extinguisher.
Right. By alternate universe Morrow.
Right. And then at the same time, during the same time, there is Wendy who can superhero jump off a cliff and be okay.
Yes, it does. This is one of the issues with anything prequely, is that it enters into the equation some things that just don't track, because why would this technology not be present in the sequels? Why would they be present in Alien and Aliens outside of the obvious reason being because they weren't written that way yet?
Yeah, that's the thing.
Right.
Because obviously in 79, the concept of one of your crew being a robot is crazy.
Right.
That's a crazy thing. But here it's almost like they just can't help themselves to add a little bit more cool technology that doesn't really make sense to be existing just yet. I do wonder why they chose to set this in so close to the Alien timeline, because it would make more sense, at least so far, for it to be happening maybe around the time of Aliens. Like at least 50 years into the future or something of the sort. Because the other thing too is confusing that the xenomorphs just keep appearing over and over again when it's supposed to be this species that has never been recorded before. Like go back to the conference room conversation with Ripley trying to explain to these idiots that
it had concentrated acid for blood. Remember he's like questioning her.
Did IQs just drop sharply while I was away?
Yeah, exactly.
So these people, obviously it could be that there's these closely guarded secrets and the rival corporations might be able to hide the events that have happened here or there. But still, suddenly this species has been running rampant on Earth and on wherever Romulus takes place, and who knows however many different iterations. And then in the events of Aliens, where it's been over 100 years later, or however many years, to where they're like, we've never seen this before.
Right.
It doesn't make much sense.
Yeah, some of those incongruities, you have to accept them and move on, or it's going to take you right out of it to where you won't be able to continue. I think I can look away from that if the show wants to get into some other interesting ideas. That's why it's the titular alien Earth. It does raise questions because we are now seeing a xenomorph on Earth, and we're seeing a xenomorph on Earth 2 years before Alien. I'm guessing that this has all been accounted for in the writing. So Noah Hawley wrote this, and Noah Hawley wrote some good Fargo.
Cool.
He's a good writer. He also wrote the first couple of seasons. I think he wrote all of Legion, and I didn't watch much of Legion, but it was pretty good. I don't know what else Noah Hawley has done. I didn't really look deeply at I didn't look crazy deep at his catalog, but I do know that he was responsible for some awesome stuff when it came to the show Fargo, which is a very good show. That's another check in the plus column for this particular show, is that I think he's very good. He writes compelling narratives and stuff, so I am curious as to how that goes. But there's no way that all these nerds get in the writer's room and they don't realize to themselves, okay, so this is going to end up being some sort of corporate tug of war over the secrecy of this species, and maybe that's going to lead to the reality of Ash wanting to infect somebody, an alien, because the company wants another sample. So that's how I'm thinking it may tie in. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does, because when you think about the timeline, in 2055, this mission gets deployed, and their mission is to acquire all these samples. And there's other species, obviously, too, not just the xenomorph.
Sure.
There's all kinds of cool critters. So already at that time, the company has had some knowledge about this species. But maybe, depending on what happens in the show, they just lose it. Obviously, now they're in the jurisdiction of a rival company, so maybe Wayland is just not going to get their hands on anything that happens here.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it might make sense that then in the events of Alien, because I think the more I've thought about the way it goes down in Alien is that their mission was to go to LV-426 all along.
Right. So let's discuss that, and let's clarify and remind people. So 2120 is Alien Earth. You're saying that this mission has been a ton of years.
65 years.
Right.
Yep.
So the crew we're seeing on the Maginot has been on a 65-year mission, most likely spent mostly sleeping because of their age, right? Cryosleep reduces your metabolic rate so you can have these long journeys. That's the whole point of cryosleep. It's a great science fiction idea. You go to sleep, maybe it's years and years and years and years later. So,
what a crazy idea, though.
A crazy idea.
You come back and everybody you knew was dead.
Exactly. And I wonder if they'll get into that with well, I guess it doesn't matter because the whole crew died sans Morrow. So I guess it doesn't matter since he's a cyborg. We don't know if cyborgs have extra long life. We don't know much about the cyborg at this point.
Yeah, I wonder if he stays awake. What does he do? Yeah, it's interesting.
It is interesting. So here's how it goes. These guys are on this mission. They are out to find samples. They come back. Things get crazy. We know that Morrow, some kind of sabotage or some kind of containment is lost on the Maginot. That's a classic alien trope right there. And the ship crashes. And there's all these samples, and Morrow needs to keep one of these samples and recover this sample for the company. Meanwhile, as you stated, they've crashed in the sovereign territory, which is interesting, of another corporation, which is a whole idea that I like on its face. And that other company is saying, well, the ship's ours, kind of finders keepers, it's ours, but I think Morrow obviously is going to have a problem with that. So you have Wayland Yutani doing this big, interesting grab for specimens. They crash in a rival company's spot. These two companies are interested in different technologies, but everyone's interested in deep space exploration sample technology. So, of course, Prodigy wants to get their hands on it. So, and again, as you pointed out, this all happens before Alien. So if in Alien they were going to LV-426 anyway, then maybe something's going to happen here that prompts Wayland Yutani to go back out there to recover a sample since Prodigy took our sample. It's almost like, does it seem like it could be spoilery to you? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, why would Wayland Yutani go back out? Maybe. I don't know. We're speculating.
Yeah. It might be like this show might end up explaining more about why Nostromo was out there.
Yeah, I think you're probably right.
Yeah,
hopefully we don't do computer face Sigourney Weaver.
Oh God, please.
And show her getting onto the Nostromo, because I will flip a table. Ugh, that'll be the worst, won't it?
Yeah.
She thumbs up, gets on the Nostromo. Oh, good. Show Ash again.
Yeah, because I had to look up how long the Nostromo mission was, and that was just months. They weren't out there for years and years.
Outside of when she escaped, then she was out for 57 years.
Yeah, 57 years, and then, yeah.
In fact, I think she was still sleeping during the events of Alien Romulus.
She was.
Yeah, that's interesting.
And I think, wasn't Romulus that they do go and retrieve Big Chap, which is the alien?
You are correct. Yeah. Yes, that's the whole Romulus thing. So you got Alien in 2122, and then you got Romulus in 2142, so 20 years later. During that time, Ripley's drifting in space, and then she gets grabbed in 2179 for Aliens.
Right.
So Aliens is 59 years later.
Yeah, it is. And if you count the time of this mission deployment, it's over 100 years that the company has probably had some kind of knowledge about the species.
How awesome is that?
Yeah, that's
so for
cool.
100 years, the company has had an interest in xenomorphs because we have to assume that. Yeah, that's crazy interesting. So their mission started back during like Prometheus.
I don't remember when.
Yeah, Prometheus is 2093.
Oh, it started before that because the Maginot deployed in 2055.
Wow.
Yeah.
So before Prometheus happens.
But it could be that wherever they've gone, it takes so long.
Right.
That they're not getting the samples yet at that point. They're just...
Yes, of course. We can't think of it as they've been doing this mission for 50 years because they're people and they'd all be old.
Right. They can't
spend most of the time sleeping.
Right. But I do, one thing caught my attention to where they're aboard the ship and discussing the corporations and the rival. It's a clever way to explain because there's the one kid who hasn't done his social studies. So
it is, but it did annoy me because I'm like, you're on a 50-year mission. You don't know who the corporations are.
That's what I wondered. How would they know about Prodigy that was established 10 years ago if they've been in space for 65 years?
Tighten up, Noah.
I mean, maybe I do wonder about how it works. Like, do they wake up from cryosleep periodically to just check everything's cool and have a meal and whatever the fuck and get like some kind of news report? But still,
they must have it. Yeah,
I assume. Otherwise, it doesn't make any sense.
That's a great point. Yeah, because Prodigy wasn't even established back then.
Yeah, the kid wasn't the annoying guy.
Cavalier.
He hadn't even been born the year that they were deployed on this mission.
Maybe, no, just hear me out. Maybe we can send a Terminator back in time to kill his mom, so we don't have to suffer him.
Yeah.
Well, but then poor Wendy would be dead.
Yeah, or Marcy, as she is originally.
Yes. So. Getting back to that's the xenomorph sort of timeline and how it matches up with this. But when it comes to the corporations, like I said, Alien feels like an intellectual property that has a lot of oppression and class division. And despite these advances in science, it feels rugged and tough and dystopian at times. And that's one of the things I've always liked about it. And the corporations in the Alien universe feel like they're even more dastardly than they are in present day.
Yeah, because you're locked into these long ass contracts of having to work in all kinds of horrible conditions, and you can't get out of it. You're sent to space missions for months or years at a time.
And as I understand it, you can't even leave, right?
No.
Like you have to stay on the planet or stay on the colony. We saw that in Romulus. We saw that in this. You're locked in. So these overlords, you're basically like an indentured servant. You are a feudal serf as you cannot leave the land. This
is our future. Yeah. If the tech bros get what they want, this is our future.
Tech bros. Get away. Get out of here with your crooked dicks. Well, cyborgs, we know a little bit about cyborgs. Cyborgs is a very cyberborgs. Because I was trying to say cyberpunk. Cyberborgs is very much a cyberpunk technology. This idea of just enhanced humans that are augmented with cybernetics or neural implants or subdermal patches that give you adrenaline boosts. All very cyberpunk video game, cyberpunk role-playing game, cyberpunk science fiction subgenre. And I do like that the character I like the most is a cyborg. I think that is interesting. And I'm sure there's an advantage. I think they list them in order of how advanced they may be from a technological standpoint, because I think cyborgs, then synths, then hybrids. That would make sense why there is a synth in the alien pictures as opposed to a cyborg.
Right.
Maybe there's advantages. Maybe, as I understand it, cyborgs still kind of age, even if they have like augments that can keep them healthier. They're still human flesh.
Yeah, and they're still human minds, whereas a synthetic person can be completely controlled by the company. They're not gonna complain. They're not gonna be like, "Am I gonna get out of this contract?" Or they're so reliable.
Yep. And that gets to one of the things about this show that we have sort of buried the lead on. Now that we're about 30 minutes in, I think we should jump on it. Let's discuss the hybrid technology and how we think it plays in this and all of that fun stuff. So, hybrid technology, we come across some sick kids, and we realize that this prodigy company, read by the boy Cavalier, is hell-bent on transference of consciousness into body so you can not succumb to the mortal coil. And if you missed the very subtle Peter Pan references to the point where it's like, let's put it on the ceiling like it's the Sistine Chapel. Oh, and let's have him literally reading from the book.
Let's name the island Neverland.
Let's name the people the Lost Boys.
Right.
Like the whole fucking thing is very on the nose. But I do want to talk about that because I do like when we use these sort of metaphorical comparisons to other stories and couch them in something else. I do think that can make for interesting writing. I don't know how you felt about all that. Like, what do you think about the Peter Pan stuff? What do you think about any of this other stuff with the hybrids? I know that's an open-ended, not direct, poignant question that you can answer easily, so I apologize. But
no, I like it, and I like the eeriness that it adds. Taking this classic children's story and then applying it to this high technology, futuristic, advanced thing that is far beyond our grasp at this point. And making it seem like it's this wonderful thing, and you get this incredible opportunity to give basically immortality to a sick child. But I really love how the show gives subtle hints of like, maybe it's not all that great as it's made out to be. There's these weird little things of like when he's reading the bedtime story, we get like flashes of like a sheep with things on its head and like needles going into bodies, zipping up the child corpses into body bags. And there's just like an underlying unease of like something is going to go terribly wrong here. And I like that uneasy feeling.
Indeed.
And it makes it somehow more effective when it's under the guise of this storybook.
Right. And I will say, much as they do in classic Disney fashion, Disney does soften a lot of the original tales. So Peter Pan, the Disney version, is one thing. Peter Pan, as is written, I believe, in the early 1900s, is something very different. But not entirely. It's just a little bit more of a harsh lesson, and it's a little bit more of a tragic look at the character of Peter Pan. And I've been thinking about this. We don't know if the boy Cavalier, what he is. We don't know if he's flesh and blood. I never assume anyone is anything in the show until I see them get ripped open. So I don't know. He's a genius. Great. This is his company. Great. It's Neverland. We're going to give these kids another chance. And as they explain it, adult brains are a little too stiff to make this journey at this point. So it's easier if it's done with children who have a little bit more imagination, mayhaps. I don't know if it's a inflexibility of the banal adult mind that makes transference difficult. But whatever it is, I do like that is an interesting limitation.
I wonder how much of that is true, because I feel like how else are you going to make this possible? How are you going to make these beings as malleable as you want them unless they are children? And that brings the ethical question of like how can you do this? And the only way you can get somebody to give up their child, because obviously they're children, they don't have the emotional or intellectual ability to fully consent to what they're being, the situation that they're going to get into. So and legally, obviously, the responsibility is on their parents. So when your child is terminally ill and going to die, you're probably gonna just be like, okay, I'll give my child up for this thing to give them a chance to keep living.
Yeah, it is.
But it's kind of predatory for him to be targeting sick children, knowing that their parents are going to not say no.
Sure, there are now. You can't. I don't really know if you can legally sell your child in the alien universe.
I don't know about that.
But I do know that it is very dubious. Getting back to the Peter Pan thing and how you said it does have a strange feeling like everything's going to go wrong. Well, we know there's going to be conflict beyond a xenomorph. At least I hope that's what it is. I hope it doesn't become a bunch of powerfully, intensely powerful hybrids who can jump off of cliffs and run very fast, just tear apart a bunch of xenomorphs. I hope that's not what it devolves into. I hope it keeps science fiction at the forefront of interesting ideas, right? But since we don't know, I don't want to speculate. I'm just saying I'm hopeful. Now, as far as a bunch of stuff in here that you brought up, the emotional maturity is huge. That's a big one. But also, going back to the Peter Pan thing real quick, is Peter Pan is a tragic character because he is a boy forever. And he gets to live in imagination land, Neverland. He gets to live there. He gets to go on whimsical, fun adventures and be a kid and have fun and be free of responsibility forever. And people go there. In the Disney film, of course, Wendy goes there to see him, and it's great, and yay, and yippee. But ultimately, she decides to leave Neverland to embrace responsibility, to embrace the fact that she will, in fact, grow up. And what makes the book very creepy is that Peter Pan goes, okay, I'll come and visit you sometime. But what they don't show you in the movie, which is what happens in the book, and I wonder if it's going to happen in the show, is that Peter Pan's memory is not good. His memory, he kind of forgets who Wendy is. And that's the tragedy of Peter Pan. The tragedy of Peter Pan is that he can never make lasting connections. In the movie, like the book, I believe Wendy's child's name is Jane or something. And the cycle repeats. He comes back and he's like, oh, whoa, great. Wendy, you've grown. But he doesn't remember anything about her. And then he takes her kid into Neverland and that cycle keeps repeating. And then she grows up and then the next kid comes. And you don't see any of this generational stuff where Peter Pan just lives in this cyclical life of no real relationships and no real growth. He's perpetually a child, which a lot of us should look to getting back to our inner child. If you don't believe us, watch or listen to our Labyrinth episode. But this is the other way. You refuse to grow up. You refuse to accept responsibility. As a result, in the Peter Pan book, his memory is crappy. So he doesn't. It's like a condition of the fairy tale. He can't form relationships with people because he forgets who they are. And I think that is tragically sad, very sad. They don't get into that in the Disney version. In the Disney version, yes, Wendy does return and stuff, but it has more of a hopeful feeling than it does. He's just this forever young guy stuck in this place, and he can never really connect with people.
Yeah, all the classical fairy tales, I like that there's the Disney versions that are all like
Sure.
fun and happy with some moral lessons for sure. But then, for example, the Brothers Grimm, right. when you look at the original stories, they can be very, very fucking brutal.
Oh, they are brutal. Without question.
Yeah, even something like Cinderella. You watch the German movie version of it, and it traumatized me as a kid because the stepsisters, one of them cuts off her toes and one of them cuts off her heel to fit their feet into the shoe, and there's blood pouring out of the shoe.
Excellent. Oh yeah, those Germans, huh?
Yep.
So yeah, it does beg the question that it gets back to Goldblum in Jurassic Park. Just because we can doesn't mean we should. And it's easy for us to say that removed from it, but like you said, you have a dying child, you can transfer their consciousness into a body that will never age and die. It almost seems like a layup. Is there any parent who would just be like, no, I don't want to inflict that upon my child. I want my child just to pass away peaceably, or I want my child to just go be in the kingdom of heaven, or whatever you believe. Because I think that does put parents in a precarious position. And it would be interesting to explore that idea in this, because that seems to be a part of the show, a part of this it seems to be something that would be of utmost concern in this show, and it's just not brought up. How the parents would be.
Right. Well, I think it might be just that. Like the father, I assume they only have a father, and I think that gets into the second episode of how they talk about how the brother thought that Wendy died, and it's a secret. It's all a secret, and she's special.
Right. Yeah, maybe that's part of it, but it is. It does. We have a weird situation here, and outside of that, getting back to something you said, I think I want to talk about a little bit, because if you've listened to The Lost Drive-In for any length of time, especially the audio program, one of the very first things we ever talked about over a decade ago was the idea of how interesting replicants were in the film Blade Runner. Because replicants they only live 4 years, but they're thrown into adult bodies and they have these artificial consciousnesses, and they are emotionally stunted. We as humans have this ability to process emotional stimuli, right, Maaja?
Yes.
It's very difficult to process emotional stimuli if you are a child, because you don't really understand how to process it. And I think when you're not used to those feelings, it's going to cause real issues. And that's why we see sometimes odd behavior out of the replicants in Blade Runner, because they're getting the full brunt of emotions at 2 years old. And now we have Wendy in an adult body, and I understand as they write it, didn't they say something? I think her name is Dame Sylvia. Didn't she say something about how they don't have hormones in anything, but there is something it's fail-safe for this very problem, right?
No, they're trying to simulate the human experience, because she obviously doesn't have hormones to control her moods anymore.
Right.
So in order to make the transition into her adult body easier for her, they're trying to simulate basically adolescence and puberty.
Yeah, they simulate it. That's right. That's when I think it's Dame Sylvia. Is that her name?
I think so.
She talks to Kirsch, the wonderful Oliphant, by the way.
Who, by the way, is definitely a Roy Batty nod, speaking of Blade Runner.
Yeah, the hair, for sure.
Yeah. And it's interesting because she seems to take a much more like a humane approach to Wendy. And like this is a little girl who has been transferred into a synthetic body, whereas Kirsch seems to just kind of discard the notion that she's even human anymore. And he talks about her like she's not even in the room. And at the end of the episode, he has his whole speech where he's basically doing the vampire thing of like, you're not like them anymore. They're going to die.
Yeah, right.
You better let go. You can't care about them anymore.
Right.
You're different and special now.
It very much is a you're a new vampire.
Right.
Speech.
It is.
That's a great way to say it. Yeah. So they say something along the lines of, it's not like flipping a switch. This is you're not human. Protocol states the body is a vessel for the human mind on the path to endless life, and simulating the human experience is critical. This is some of the things they say.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And it does make me wonder, though, how this would go in reality, because I wonder how much control they have over, because they are manufactured. Their brains are supercomputers. They can monitor their behavior, they can monitor everything, it seems. But still, Wendy is doing things that surprise them. She's able to hack the robot. She's able to do all kinds of interesting things. And I do wonder what would really happen if you put a child's mind into an indestructible grown body, because children can be little psychopaths, and they are meant to be. They are meant to be that way because they're not developed and grown into into full humans yet.
Yes.
So this is kind of a terrifying concept, and they've done it to where I like them. They're not being too annoying and weird and quirky.
Right.
But I still wonder if something is going to go badly wrong with at least one of them.
I know. It's a great point. Well, we just said it, didn't we? Roy Batty was deeply emotionally flawed because he wanted to live, and he knew he was going to die, and he wants more life when he goes up to see... I can't remember his name.
I can't either.
More human than human is our motto here. So it is, it's a consideration. They're going to have emotional outbursts.
I think also Blade Runner and Alien are in the same universe.
Tyrell Corp.
Tyrell, that's right.
Yeah. I like that idea, actually.
I think Ridley Scott has said that.
Right. So... yeah, it's going to be strange when she punches somebody with the force of a truck accidentally when she flies off the handle because she's emotionally compromised about something. So they must have protocols written into their brains, but I don't know. Again, there's a lot of speculation here, other than I do like the idea that transference of consciousness into a body to escape death, that is very science fiction. There's nothing that idea has been around for a long time. And they decide, let's have Wendy be the shepherd of the Lost Boys.
Yeah.
She's going to be the one that helps them during this transference.
She's the first one, so she should know what it feels like.
Right. And she's only been the first one for like 5 minutes.
I know. Although I wonder how
passage, much... Right.
We don't get to know how much time passes. I would imagine that it is some time, because Joe, the brother, is... quite a bit older if Wendy is supposed to be just a 12-year-old.
Sure.
So I think some time has passed.
Fair enough. One thing I want to wrap up, the end of that emotion talk, I believe Wendy asks the question, and this question should start to become an important question in the series. If I'm not human, what am I? I believe Kirsch says... to deflect whatever you want to be.
Yeah.
A pleasant fiction. By the way, that's how we got in this mess in the first place. That's why there are litter boxes in high school classrooms.
Oh my God.
You can't be a cat person. I'm sorry. Shut up. Stop telling people that, Gersh. In all seriousness, this sort of big sister shepherd of the Lost Boys routine gets thrust upon her, and as it should. And of course, the grown-ups have a lot of questions. It seems irresponsible of Cavalier to say, okay, well, Wendy's doing good so far. Now do everyone? But I guess time is not on your side. If kids are dying, you're like, well, how long does this kid have, Doc? And the doc's like, could be any day now. So it's like, well, we should probably wheel him in, coffin. And get him in. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, Cavalier strikes me as somebody who is just going to follow his fancies. He's a little bit irresponsible.
Right. He has to have some responsibility to have gotten where he's gotten.
No, obviously. He's a genius.
Yeah.
He's the youngest trillionaire.
He's a genius because he wears no shoes indoors at board meetings.
And because he looks like he dove into a Goodwill bin and emerged wearing 5 different grandma's outfits that were thrown away in the 70s.
Yep. Society demands he wears shoes to the board meeting, but he won't listen. He's a real renegade, this guy. Also, maybe it's easy to forget you're talking to a child, but when a child asks you why you and your wife can't have kids, don't just say for medical reasons. Don't use the word sperm. It's not your kid. It's not your responsibility to teach the kid about that stuff. That just came off as super creepy from that guy.
It was a little weird.
There's moments like that where I get a little bit like, ugh.
I know the whole concept of an island full of children that are trying to be adults, a secret trillionaire's island into adult bodies is I don't know.
Is the boy Kevlar gonna kill himself when evidence comes out of misdeeds on his island? Are they gonna release is Prodigy gonna release the transcripts?
I don't think so.
Am I hitting too close to home here? Neverland, huh?
Yeah. Yeah,
Show me a list of people who have visited Neverland in the alien universe.
Yeah, and what is that Chernobyl guy doing in the hallway?
I don't know.
What the hell is going on there? That's so freaky.
He's the biggest mystery of the show.
I know. What is he doing?
What
is he washing off the wall or what?
The same spot for 100 years.
I know. Why is he wearing that gear?
Yes.
Something is wrong in this place for sure.
I agree.
I do like that Wendy herself addresses the fact. She grabs her breasts and is like, these are weird. They move when I run. I like that that's at least addressed in a way and done. I don't know. It's kind of on the border of being creepy at times, but they still do it decently well. Yeah,
it has a ghoulish quality, we'll say.
It does.
Yeah, it has a ghoulish quality. But I don't. As long as we're not couching strange things in our alien programs, I'll be okay. But it is to take little dying kids and put them in grown up bodies. And
it's
have them
fucking
say
weird.
Grown up shit. It's weird. But the technology on its face is interesting to me. I would be more interested in if it wasn't children and they didn't have to act like children. That's very weird. Maybe by episode 5, they will not be acting like... We may have time jumps. I don't know what we're going to see. I have no idea.
I have to mention the fact that we accidentally watched the second episode first. And we were very confused as to why these people were behaving so weirdly.
I can't believe we didn't start with that.
I know.
I watched the second episode first by accident because of the way I had it set up on my TV. I'm an idiot. And Maaja and I were both like, boy, they really
throw us into it, and I'm a little confused. It's kind of cool though that they're not really holding our hand to and explaining everything, but I'm a little confused.
I remember looking over her. It's like I discovered something. I went, I have a feeling there's a kid in this girl's consciousness because she's acting like a child, right? And then we're like, oh yeah, that's not a big secret, dude. Everybody knows that. You watched it out of order, idiot.
Yeah. Then. We went to next day. We were gonna play episode 2, and I'm like, "Why is this the same episode?"
Yes,
because we watched the second first. Yep. Idiots.
Yeah, I started it, and I'm like, "This is opening." Didn't I see this opening scene already? Maybe we're doing a recap, and then we're like, "Nope, wrong episode. Whoopsie."
But I will have to say that the first episode is much better than the second, and the fact that even the second episode, watching it out of order, made me intrigued is a good sign for the show altogether.
I completely agree with that sentiment. The first episode is a lot better than the second episode. The second episode takes a bit of a drop, and I hope it's not indicative of the series. I hope it can recover because I was joyful for the first episode. There's a couple moments in the first episode I was a little bit nervous where Wendy, when her brother shows up in New Siam, and Wendy has been tracking his every movement because this is her touch at flesh and blood. Her brother is still alive. Her brother thinks she's dead, and she's been as you said, she can interface with computers and surveillance, and she's been just tracking him. And she kind of like is flipping and twisting around. And I was like, if I get a dance number right now, if I get a musical dance number, I am going to be very angry at this silly show. I don't need Footloose right now. I don't need Footloose in space. Don't do it. Technically, they're on the Earth, but I was a little concerned we were going to get a little too whimsical.
Yeah.
But we might as well talk about the big moment of this episode, which is the crashing of the ship Maaja into the giant building in New Siam.
Yeah, I like that we jump because there's kind of a foreshadowing feeling as everybody's going back into their cryo chambers of things are not going to go well. And I do wonder if we're going to get like a flashback episode or something. I actually wouldn't mind it if we get to see what went wrong on the Maginot. Because we do establish some of these characters. There's Mr. Teng, who is an absolute fucking creep.
What's with Mr. Teng?
I don't know what's wrong with Teng. And I immediately like them the same way I like the characters in Alien. There's the mechanics who are kind of like bickering and on with their conspiracy theories about the company putting stuff in their breakfast cereal.
Yes, I like the Scottish guy a lot.
Yeah.
Him and Morrow I liked quite a bit.
Yeah. So... It was cool to see them and then just kind of jump into like, oh, okay, we're straight on to shit going bad and everybody's pretty much dead.
Yeah. And when this, I gotta say, and we haven't talked about this, but I think we'll wrap on this last part of the crash, but this production quality is incredibly impressive.
Oh, it is.
When that ship hits the building, and the feeling of disaster as the search and rescue team is on the ground, deployed, the chaos is wonderful.
I got goosebumps watching this scene because I had the feeling of like, I don't think I've seen this in anything else before where a spaceship has crashed into a building and it's not some kind of highfalutin sci-fi like adventure, whatever the fuck, where it feels very down to earth and there's real people struggling and suffering in the middle of this chaos, and we follow this team that gets sent in there to search and rescue. It I don't know, there's something special about this scene.
It feels like maybe, just maybe, Governor Tarkin was flying that thing. You're the one who landed a ship on a bunch of people in Andor.
Yeah, that's a...
No, but I love that. You're right. It's very intense. The fact that the afterburners, I don't think that's what they call them, but the fact that the thrusters are still firing.
The sound design is so good.
Great while the ship is there. And it's just absolute chaos. Now, I was thinking about this. They deploy a search and rescue team, which I think is interesting because search and rescue teams are usually associated with military actions, like people who jump out of helicopters and go rescue people in bad spots so they can get them. It's usually for medical trauma stuff. So I was like, maybe, as a gun guy, I'm crazy. It's crazy I'm saying this. Maybe more medical equipment, less guns. It's almost as if they were expecting, right? It seems weird to deploy a bunch of guys with guns to an accident.
I know, it is a little interesting, but maybe it's the fact that it's a spaceship and it's by a rival company.
I think you're right.
Because this is Prodigy territory and a different company's ship has crashed there, so they don't know what's on it, what's going to happen. Are they gonna send their own teams? Is it going to turn into a battle? So in that aspect, it makes sense.
I think you're right about that. I have a feeling that we're supposed to understand that these companies are brutal to each other.
Yeah.
And as a result and it seems as if, because they called New Siam, I don't know if you caught the text on the screen, but It said New Siam and it said Prodigy City.
Yep.
Something along those lines, which is to say that in this, like in a lot of cyberpunk and or science fiction, corporations own sovereign territory. So whatever the corporation's law is, you're subject to that law. Now, I think in the Aliens universe, it's a little different because I still think there is governments because there is, the North America, South America, Central America alliance. That's where Weyland-Yutani is, right? They call it the Americas or something. And then there's like a Russian one. There's actually like a little Cold War still going on, which is interesting. So there is a lot of stuff like that you get into with the expanded universe stuff, less so in the movies, because it's more interested in the corporations than it is what's going on politically and how do the corporations fall within those politics. And my rant aside, my point is, I do wonder if, because it says Prodigy City, if that means they have some sort of power to make and or arbitrate law in their own territory. Like, is this corporate sovereign territory. Imagine if you were on a corporate and you had to be subjected to corporate law. That's crazy.
I think that is the case because it comes up later, but the jurisdiction debate over who gets to go on the ship and whether Yutani calls Cavalier and can't even send a team to recover what's theirs because they've crashed into Prodigy territory.
Yep. And there seems to be, I'm sure there's a legal contingent somewhere that states Weyland Yutani can attempt to recover its property. But it does. That's what I like. It's strange to say this, but that's one of the things I like about the show is wondering about those relationships and laws and how it works with these big corporations that, while seemingly benevolent, have a real evil streak in them.
Yeah.
Especially ones that constantly want to infect people with xenomorph eggs, face huggers and shit.
I also like the fact that Morrow is clearly a very, very loyal Weyland Yutani man, but he's still pretty much the most interesting character because usually we hate the corporate guy. We hate Burke.
This is nuts.
It's sad.
Sad, really. I mean, have you listened to yourselves?
Nuts.
This is nuts. Yeah. He is intriguing because he has a singular purpose and he's got an evil streak in him, and that makes him interesting.
Do you want to talk about the scene where the ship is crashing and he's talking to Mother?
Yeah, it's awesome.
And we get the first look at the xenomorph.
Yeah, how do you like it?
That's where I have some problems.
Is he too sleek?
He looks too shiny. He's smooth and rubbery looking. He's not wet enough.
Like most things that come into contact with KY jelly.
Well, that's the problem. There isn't enough KY jelly.
He's not slippery enough, is what
No,
you're saying.
he looks very dry.
Yeah, I see.
He's very, very, he needs some moisturizer.
He does. Maybe some Neutrogena.
He also, the mouth looks funny. Like the lips, it's very boxy looking, the mouth and the lips, the way they cover the teeth. I'm like, that looks like just cloth pulled over the teeth. It's kind of funny looking. I do like the way it moves.
Me too.
But
I don't mind the way he looks.
I have some doubts about the appearance of the xenomorph, but it might grow on me.
Well, I hope it doesn't. I'll have to kill you with an incinerator.
Well, that is a good point.
No, but in all seriousness, I think it looks kind of cool, but not as cool as some of the other designs. It didn't bother me that much, and I think I'm conflating with the way it looks with the way it moves, which is why I'm being a little bit more forgiving, because I find the way it moves brutal. And I'm like, I think that's a guy in a suit, man. Because
it is. It definitely is. Yeah.
You looked that up?
Oh, yeah. They wanted to do mostly practical, especially for the creatures.
See how much better it is?
I know.
It's so much better. Because, and with all due respect to the actress who plays Kavari, where she's at the door going, come on, let me in. It's almost like her big brother's playing a joke on her and it's kind of cold outside. It's terrible.
Wait,
acting.
What are you talking about?
When she's like, let me in. Come on, it's out here. Kavari, I think is the character's name.
Where?
When the xenomorph is after that girl and Morrow has the door locked behind him. Morrow's in the room with Mother.
Oh.
And she's like, let me in. And you see it moving and when it attacks her.
Yeah.
Because the way it attacks her, it's fucking amazing. But that acting is horrific. It could be the script, but when she's like, let me in, it's out here.
Yeah,
Just
that was
like Wendy Torrance with the floppy arms, like banging on the fucking door. Like,
I do like the way the xenomorph is backing into the doorway again with about the design. I like that they brought back the penis head to where it looks like a dick, the back of the dome.
Do you need that in your xenomorphs?
Yes, because it's an H.R. Giger design originally, and there are very, very many penises in H.R. Giger things.
Fair enough. It's a penis-laden xenomorph out for killing. But it is. I do love the way it looks, man. The way it moves. When it is attacking her, and I know we'll talk about the other creepy crawlies, but since we're talking about the xenomorph, I don't know. It bashes.
It's vicious.
It bashes her. It looks like a bear attack. It's great.
Yeah.
and it just tears her asunder. But we should. So I think we've said our piece on the xenomorph. We should talk about some of the other creepy crawlies.
Yeah, I'm intrigued, but
Okay.
I wish that they were also practical. I understand that the little
Yes.
critters are difficult to make with puppetry, but
Right.
I still wish that they were, because CG creatures just automatically make me go kind of
Same.
I don't know.
Same. Yep. We're still not there with CG creatures. We're just not there. It's not convincing still, and it definitely takes away from it. If you want to CG touch up something, maybe you can do it and make it work. But yeah, I don't love the CG creatures, but they are disgusting. That thing that latches on to the guy, right? Because the search and rescue team runs afoul of Morrow,
Yeah.
who immediately is able to detain them. And when he locks them up, that one guy gets a creepy crawling on his neck and then just balloons up with his blood like a tick. It is disgusting.
It's
Ugh.
so gross.
It's great. It's a great creepy crawly.
I don't understand how he's so calm with this thing
It's
crawling on him
ludicrous.
though, and
It's
why?
ludicrous.
Like I would be,
He
I
would
would
be freaking the
I
fuck
would be
out.
closing my eyes and mouth immediately and shaking violently to try to get it off,
Do you
and
know
he's
how-
just like looking up, like, I think there's something on me.
Do you know how hard I'd bash my face into that pole?
Oof, yeah.
Hard. I would be bashing hard. He's just trying to be still. He froze like prey, right? He's a predator or prey. He froze.
But it's so.
Which does kind of get back to these guys. I don't think I love the search and rescue team. I'm sorry. Now, I'm trying to give them the benefit of the doubt. Luckily, they all get fucked up. I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt like this. I'm saying I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt because I'm comparing them to the Colonial Marines, which is a mistake. And I have to remember, they're not Colonial Marines.
They're corporate security.
They're corporate search and rescue guys.
Yeah,
Right. So maybe they should be a little,
They're soldiers, but they're kind of like, if they were cops, they would be mall cops.
kind of. Yeah, you're kind of right about that. They don't strike me as very menacing or competent. But especially when you contrast them with Morrow.
I know.
The Wayland Yutani trained guys seem much more scary at this point. But then again, prodigies, that's not their stock and trade. Their stock and trade is hybrids and synth and shit. So, and besides, when you are sending in the children, when Wendy convinces you, send me in, and you're like, yes, this will be a great test. It's like, wait a minute.
Yeah, this would
you
never, it would never happen. It would never work if Cavalier wasn't such an eccentric, whimsical fruitcake.
Yeah, and
No
even then,
sane-
it only kind of works.
Yeah, I mean, he's interested in what's on the ship, so he wants to secure that. And then I think
But he doesn't have endless corporate resources. He can't send 40 guys.
I'm sure he does,
Yeah.
but also, I think he's more interested in the just testing his creatures, sending them out into the world, and I think he's also intrigued by Wendy's curiosity and interest in the brother, because it's almost as if they're. I don't know. Like Wendy is his project. He
Sure.
wants to figure her out, and he wants to go back to have an interesting fucking conversation, talk to somebody more intelligent than him. So for Wendy to be still so attached to her brother from her past life is like a human element that seems to intrigue him.
Do you think, now this is a serious question, do you think that, you hinted at it earlier in our conversation, that Prodigy somehow, some way has control over the hybrids if they need it?
I don't know. I think they can monitor everything. They clearly can tamper with their hormones or like simulate this or that. But I don't think they have like full blown control. Which
Like a stop, Wendy, and then she freezes.
yeah, it's not like a pressing a button and
or a
then
command phrase.
right.
Yeah.
I don't think so. Which is also why it both makes sense and makes it more risky for them to be children, because children will be more malleable and easier to control, but then also they might be way more
Outbursts.
unpredictable.
Yeah, they might be nightmares.
Right.
So the reason I asked the question is because I was wondering, maybe sending Wendy and co, maybe one of the benefits is being able to monitor, see what's on the ship, and if something valuable is on the ship, which I believe Cavalier is thinking, maybe then he can keep it a little quieter as opposed to sending 45 guys over there who are going to talk and shit. And do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, is this a containment strategy? I think it's just not great writing, this part, to be frank.
It is a little convenient.
Right.
There's a few things, that's one of my criticisms, that some things are just a little too convenient.
Yeah.
We'll get into the xenomorph behavior also being like, ooh, it's
Yeah. Yeah, we should start looking at I don't know how much more you want to go at 10:15. We're about an hour and so.
Yeah, no, I think we're pretty much ready to wrap it up. There's only the
yeah.
Kirsch's humanity used to be food monologue that I would wanted to get to.
Yeah, we can talk about that.
Yeah.
So a couple things real quick. So I didn't get a lot into it. It's just awesome. The visual, the way the crashed ship in the hotel works and how they have to navigate jumping from the hotel into the ship is fucking awesome.
Yeah, I don't think
It
it's
is incredible. The production design is incredible.
I don't think it's a hotel. I think it's an apartment building that has like a department store in the ground floor. I love the feeling of the surreal, discordant feeling of these like clothing ads running in the background of like women walking in fashionable clothes, and then there's all this wreckage surrounding them. It's really cool.
You're absolutely right. And you know what? I took notes at the beginning of the episode, and I couldn't come to the word discordant, which I've used so many times, and I'm mad at myself that you made me think of it. I thought the same thing in the very beginning of the episode when you hear modern music sort of muffled and echoing through empty halls of starships.
Yeah.
It's very discordant. It has a real BioShock quality. Like creepy old-timey music just echoing through science fiction hallways that are empty. There's something creepy about it.
There's something creepy, but there's something also endearing, and we'll get to it in the second episode with Ice Age, but they already show the Peter Pan animation in this. There is something very endearing about still maintaining a contact with this media from hundreds of years ago at
For
this
sure,
point.
yeah. I'm talking about something different. I'm talking about the echoey emptiness of muffled music in a starship where you know shit's going to go bad. It's juxtaposed against what seems to be peace, but you're like, this ain't peaceful. This ain't peaceful. Something bad's going to happen here. But much like you're saying, department stores, ads going on while these guys are stalking rooms with rifles and flashlights. It's neat.
I did want to also mention about the production design and the technology, because that's maybe my favorite thing here, that they're staying loyal to the original look. Like obviously the Maginot is like a Weyland-Yutani ship, so it looks very similar on the interior than Nostromo does. And like how all the devices are, like their iPads are all like clunky and big.
Yeah.
I love the clunky iPads. Can I have one?
It's excellent.
I love that there's actual buttons and levers and cranks in things. Even in the crazy Neverland technology where they're transferring the consciousness into a synthetic body, there's buttons. There's a control board.
It looks like a thrust control in a jet.
Or it looks like
or
it's
a boat.
It's a like a Soviet spaceship. It's got all these like buttons and cranks, and I like that they're doing that and blending the like a retrofuturistic look that originates from the 70s, and they're still making it work. Yeah. And there's some moments where it goes a little bit like, okay, well, how is Morrow's weird transparent arm so very developed compared to all this other stuff? I don't know. I don't really care, because just the look of it makes me so happy.
Yeah, for sure. You want to talk about vampire monologues?
Vampire monologue, yes.
So, lo and behold, Cavalier is convinced to let them go in. Kirsch gets saddled with the responsibility of babysitting, quite literally, children in adult bodies. Going into this wreckage to see what they can find because, well, of course, as we've already discussed, Wendy is deeply concerned with her flesh and blood brother who thinks she is dead. Very cool. So off they go, and Kirsch has a little bit a little something he wants to say regarding humans. And I don't know. Do you want to listen to that?
Yeah, sure.
Do you want to listen to what he says? Let's do it. Let me bring it up here. You won't hear it on YouTube, sorry.
Yeah, and his whole point is that Wendy's brother is going to die because he's only human.
Right.
What do you think Kirsch is?
I think he's a synth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so.
Or just, yeah, he's a synthetic. I think he's an Ash. I think he's a Bishop.
Yeah, I think he's a fully synthetic who doesn't... I think he views himself as almost better than humans.
You think? That's why they gave him the Roy Batty hair.
I know, and I think he's trying to teach Wendy the futility of trying to save someone who's eventually just going to die, no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what's the point? Don't stay attached to somebody who's just a human.
Yeah, it's interesting because this gets back into, you know, the more I think about this episode, which I do really enjoy, by the way, but it does feel like a pastiche of a bunch of great ideas that could be episodes unto themselves.
That's true.
Right. Like this idea of accepting your mortality and death and understanding synths. Well, Wendy had that choice made for her. She didn't get to accept her own death. She defied death and got put into a body, which stands to reason why she would feel this way, that she can in fact save him, because I think she thinks he can have his conscience transferred like she did. But then there's also how it gets back to Peter Pan and not accepting the responsibility of adulthood. In Neverland, people don't die. In Neverland, it's just endless adventure and fun. And it's this cycle that repeats, and eventually it just goes on like that in perpetuity. And then you go, nothing ever changes here. Everything is stuck being the same way all the time. And in that very poignant piece of Peter Pan is prevalent, not just relevant, in this episode as it relates to her and this part about her brother. Like, maybe for her to escape Neverland, she has to be told and she has to understand that her brother will die. I hope the show sees that through to the end. I hope I hope Kirsch is right, and I hope that is the reality. What do you think? What do you think? I guess you say that you think Kirsch's point here is that he just wants to get this through her head?
Yeah, to make Wendy understand that she's now something greater and better, and it won't do her any good to cling on to the remains of her mortal life. Much like a vampire would be like, hey,
yeah,
you're
say goodbye to
now.
your family. All we can do is watch and take names, he says.
Right. That's such a, yeah, I can't compare it to anything else than vampires, to just watch people around you die as you keep existing and living on.
Right. Yeah. But that's the episode. She's going in. We've established some characters. What are some of your closing thoughts on this first episode of Alien Earth?
I'm very hopeful.
Yes.
I'm hopeful for the show. I'm pleasantly surprised. One thing that I wanted to mention was the music. I think the music is excellent.
Me too.
It really adds to the atmosphere.
Are you
overall.
talking about the soundtrack or the score? Or both?
The score mostly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the whatever soundtrack bits there are nice to be like, oh, there's still like this lady is listening to Nina Simone in space.
Killer Crane, I think, was.
Yeah.
And
Black Sabbath at the very end.
Yes. I don't mind that. A lot of times I get a bit dubious when we start injecting modern music into science fiction, especially when you think of Beastie Boys and Star Trek. It's brutal.
Oh.
But these people are of Earth, and they are of Earth not that far away from us. It's only...
Right.
It's not that far.
I should hope that somebody's still listening to Pink Floyd in 100 years.
Yeah, they will be. Be. There's this... The stuff now that's around now will still be around.
I hope not
classics.
The stuff. There's classics, but not like music that is considered modern today. I hope is not going to be around in 100 years.
I didn't even think they still made music anymore. That's old guy talk right there. But no, No, I think it's promising, and I do like the score a lot. I think it's done well. There's little moments of nods to the original.
Yeah.
Some of the sound design is great, but I'm hopeful. I'm interested in the world of Alien. It's cool to get a look at Earth and to see how Earth is, and I don't want to puke at every character. I don't want to vomit at every character, which I wish I could say the same for a lot of the Alien stuff that's been around. Your characters have to work. If they don't work,
I know, and that's the thing, because I'm happy that I didn't know anything about this before I went
Same.
into it, because had I known that it's going to be children put into synthetic bodies, I would be like, nope, no.
Really?
I don't think I would have wanted to even watch it.
No kidding.
I went into it completely blind and was like, oh, I like Wendy.
Well, before we go, can you answer me a question?
Yes.
Why is that spooky to you?
It's not spooky. I just have this is a sign of me getting old, because I don't like when all the characters are children.
Right.
Like Romulus. I'm like, these are dumb teenagers. This feels like a slasher movie. I don't want that in my Alien. But here they make
you mean the after school
interesting.
special Romulus where she's like, I'm pregnant. Oh no.
God.
Are you really?
I'm gonna give birth to this giant, tall white guy who.
Sure, you say so. Well,
Yep.
a good start. Let's hope it maintains. Spoiler: we've already seen the second episode, so but
because we watched it first.
as we've discovered. Oops, my fault, by the way.
Yep.
But it is. It's. I don't like it as much as the first episode, but let me tell you, rewatching both in sequence made the second one less annoying.
Yes.
That's a me problem. But we are looking forward to covering more of this, and we, like I said at the top, we'll be doing an episode every single week. And Scott will be returning by episode 3. So thank you guys very much. Like, subscribe, follow, share. Tell us what you hate about us. Tell us what you love about us. All that good stuff. We really appreciate your time. And don't forget to check out the Lost Drive-In, the audio podcast, where we have hundreds and hundreds of episodes at your disposal. Thank you very much, Maaja. This has been a blast. Tell the good people goodbye.
Goodbye, people.